Hello and welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of A New Go of New Home Sales. I'm your host, Anya Chrysanthon, and I'm very excited to introduce my guest for today, my good friend, Quint Lears with Hicks Brothers and New Home Sales. Quint Lears, welcome to the show.
newhomesales.com, but I'm not here to promote newhomesales.com. I'm here for you, Anya and Anugo. So I will not be promoting newhomesales.com throughout this podcast. That wouldn't be right. This is your show.
Okay. Well, so today, Quint and I wanted to recap our experience at the International Builder Show 2023 in Las Vegas. But before we jump into it, let's hear from Quint, in case you guys don't know who Quint Lears is. And we want to hear all about your life story, your journey. How did you get into new home sales? And tell us briefly, what is it that you do now?
Yeah, so I'm a full-time new home sales professional. I love this industry. I think we're in the best business on the face of the earth. And I remember, when the downturn happened in 2008, it was a big question about whether I would survive in this industry. So I would go to the Builder Show, and I wasn't there to socialize. I wasn't there to party. I was there to survive. So I would cling to the people, the legends, the trainers, and I would follow them around and sit in the front seat and take notes. And it was really life or death for me in this industry. And when you do that, you gain a lot of knowledge. And I became successful in new home sales. Matter of fact, I was 2012 National Salesperson of the Year for NAHB. And then through that, some different speaking engagements happened. And what was a real big turning point for me is when I realized that I have the ability to affect an actual industry. And that's what I want the viewers or the listeners to understand, that we're a very young industry. And when you talk about influencers, it's not just I got a bunch of followers. It means that you can actually influence. You can come up with an idea and it can change things. And it happened for me early in my career. I came up with an idea and then somebody picked it up and went all the way around, ended up as an article in Professional Builder magazine. And I thought, oh my gosh, that was just kind of a one-off idea. What if I come up with a lot of ideas? And that's what I do now. I'm always trying to, what's different? How do we set apart, come with a better way to make an impact? So that's kind of a little bit of my journey. And what I encourage people to do is, a lot of people are on the edge of the boat. I imagine this industry is a boat. A lot of people are right on the edge. Oftentimes they fall off. They're like, well, I kind of like this industry, but no, get into the center of the boat. If there's a committee, join the committee. If there's a podcast, get on the podcast, start a podcast, join your local, join your national, get the certification, read the book, stay current. So get into the center of the boat. And then when the ups and downs come, you're grounded, you're centered, you're protected, kind of thing. So get in the center of the boat.
I like that idea, Quint Lears. That's a really interesting way to think about it. And one thing I do love about you, Quint, is that I think you have very, very unique perspective on things. So every time I hear you speak, and if you guys have never heard Quint speak, put it on your list, because he is amazing. And he comes out with the craziest things that I would never even dream up in my wildest imagination. And the way you can relate home building to certain things and make those parallels and draw conclusions and tie them together is just genius. It's pure genius. It's entertaining. And I can see why you have so much passion in new home sales still to this day, because you're just having fun with your customers, and you are really bringing your A game, which is so difficult to maintain over time. So for those of you who attended IBS 2023, we want to hear from you. So definitely leave us some comments and tell us what was the best part of the show for you. But we wanted to recap some of our favorite moments, because it was definitely a crazy show. Quint, I think they had 200,000 plus participants this year, because it wasn't just IBS, it was KBIS, plus they had the hardware show. And I think there's some other show, I'm not sure, something. But, when I heard hardware, I was like, oh, so excited. I'm going to look at the pools and the drawers and all that fun stuff. But no, it was actually hardware, like hammers and stuff. So it was, but yeah, it was a lot of people. I felt very much like it was 200,000. I don't know about you, but compared to last couple of years, I could definitely feel it just in the crowd. How many people were moving around. It was a little much overwhelming. What do you think?
It was exhausting. It was like oh, I'm hungry. Let's go to a restaurant. Oh, we can get you in tomorrow at 10 p.m. It's like, it's 5 o'clock today. Like, I mean, it was hard.
It
It
was
was
hard,
hard. I mean, like
but
the
awesome
Uber
too.
lines, amazing. Um, uh, but it is definitely prepare yourself if you go. Like, get your rooms early, pack lunch. I mean, have some stuff ready, comfortable shoes, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So I got in a little bit early. I got in Sunday night because I needed to be there for Monday, which was the pre-show day, which was a lot of committees met. So I'm part of the NAHB YP committee, which is the young professionals. So Quinn, you should actually get involved with us. I don't know why you're not part of our committee. So
I'm old now.
I'm
Yeah.
recruiting you. You're going to be my plus one this year. So our meeting was on Monday for the YP committee. We meet typically in person, at IBS. We also go to the spring leadership event, which is typically held in DC. And then we usually have one more in-person event that's like in a fall. This past year I was in Kansas City, but they switch it around. And then, of course, in between, we also meet over Zoom meetings. It's a great opportunity to see all the young pros coming up in our industry. And the reason why I chose to stay on the committee for several years now is because that is really the future, right? That if you look at home builders as a whole, their average age is like 65 years old, I want to say. So these individuals who are part of the committee are really shaping the future of NAHB and the direction where we're going. So I definitely want to be a part of that. And it's always a lot of fun. And you know what? I don't have to mention the Jello shots that are typically involved during our meetings, but it's definitely a plus and it helps. One of the things we also did this year, which actually we do every year, following our meeting, is we had the YP Awards. So I was a judge also for this year. Actually, last year I got to judge the awards as well. So you guys, that's one way you can also get involved as you are showing up to those types of things. You're probably going to get tapped into like, hey, can you help out with this? Can you help out with that? So I got to judge some of the contestants. And so we had some great winners and celebrated the young professionals. And then, of course, I can't not mention the YP party, which was on Wednesday or Thursday night. I think Thursday night. I can't keep track of things anymore, but it was one of the nights. So, and it was a pretty good event. It was always a packed event. It always sells out every single year. And you have to be 40 years old or under to be able to get in. So I'm definitely aging out for next year, which is okay. So this is my last hurrah with the YP party.
Yeah.
So it was a great networking event. Great to see everybody. And one of the highlights for me, as I wrap up the YP stuff, was to meet my friend Ryan DeLeon in person. So Ryan and I met online. He followed my podcast back in the day with New Construction Marketing Podcast. And then I think he still follows the Inugo podcast. Shout out to Ryan. So Ryan works for Crescent Homes in Nashville area. And so we've been Instagram friends. And Quint, one of those times when you meet somebody online and you really feel like you're actual friends, even though you've never met in person. And so what I loved about Ryan was when we met, I actually felt like, oh, it's just, it's Ryan. Because sometimes you meet people and they're not what they are on Instagram, in real life, completely different story. Hopefully I am the same person as well. At least I try to be as genuine as possible on social media. No filters and all that, or minimal filters at least. Because it's like, whoa, who's that person, right?
Yeah.
So it was really cool to meet Ryan. So he was my highlight. And if you guys want to check out Ryan on Instagram, he's under Ryan J. DeLeon, I want to say. And he does a lot of reels, which is something that I talked about in one of my sessions. But before we jump into that, I want to hear from you. So Quint, when did you get into town and what was the first thing you did?
Came in Monday and the goal was to get food, get my room, get situated. And it was tough because obviously it was a busy show, but I had to be up early the next day. And it was challenging. Literally, I hijacked because I didn't realize I had an Uber and it was like 45 minutes out to get the Uber. And then it kept canceling on me. Then I'm panicking because I hadn't even registered for the show yet. And it just seemed like oh my gosh, this is getting crazy. So one thing about the home building industry, we all kind of look out for each other. And there was a van and it was packed, but I was like, please, you're going to the show. Can you just get me close? Like I'll walk, And they were kind of like, because it was packed, and I just squeezed in the back, and it was really cool. I wish I could remember the name, but it was an appliance company from Italy, Schmeg, I think it was something like that. Really interesting people, but we had a session called Sales and Marketing, not Sales versus Marketing, and it was Elizabeth Russell, Zach Custer, Will Duderstadt, the only Will Duderstadt, and it was a very, very good session, surprisingly packed. I was obsessed with the sales rally. Like all I kept thinking was a sales rally. And I made a mistake of not really like hard preparing for this because I thought there's like a panel, there's 4 people, we're all experts, it's an easy topic. And we got back and they're like, okay, Quentin, you got this section, roll with it and this. And then the line just wrapped around the building. It seemed like that room was packed. I don't want to exaggerate, but there was probably 300 people. And it had cameras, they were recording it. So I was like, oh my gosh, I called my wife and I'm like, I don't feel prepared. And I just like, why do I stress myself out like this? But we all know our stuff. This is something we're passionate about. And we came up with a cool acronym. It was HART. So when I speak, I try to come up with an acronym, and H stands for humility. A stands for we got to acknowledge the other team members, like the marketing professionals, the salespeople, the construction. R stands for responsibility, which was funny. I got a funny story around that. And T stands for tipping point. The idea is how do we create a tipping point? And we had, if you can go get the session, Elizabeth Russell had a very compelling story that kind of brought us into the challenges that we're facing. But anyway, that was a fun session. Anyway, back to you. What was I know you had an early morning session, right?
Yeah, you know what? Somebody at NAHB did not want Anya to have any fun. And yes, I had 2 8:30 sessions, my Wednesday and Thursday, both at 8:30. But you know what?
Yeah.
It was same as you. I was surprised that rooms were packed. Especially like, yeah, my 8:30 on Wednesday was packed. And then even Thursday, I thought for sure, okay, 8:30 on the Thursday, it's like last day of the show. Nobody's going to be there, right? No, it was packed again. I was surprised how many people showed up. It was really, really good to see. So from my sessions, my first session was with Mindy Lepp and Julie Jargon. I hope I'm pronouncing her last name right. She's with Do You Convert? And so we had a session on 23 innovative marketing ideas for 2023. So we each took the stage and presented 8 to 7 kind of a quick rapid fire ideas. And so we were really well received. And yeah, it was really fun. I learned some things from the ladies, and we had a lot of interaction going on, people asking for slides afterwards. So I'd say it was a success. And then my second session on Thursday was with Tim Costello. We had Melissa Servin and Lindsay Holton. So it was a great session, and it was all about how to position new construction against used homes, whether you're selling online or in person. So basically the message was that, we got to step up our game. Most people do want to buy new construction. We just need to make it easy for them in order to be able to visualize the home, in order to select their options and say yes to this home. So it was very much marketing technology and sales technology heavy. And Quint, every time I talk about technology with home builders, I'm always kind of like, in the past, it's been like, yeah, like we hear you, what, like, okay, this is all great and good, but whatever. This time, I'm telling you, people stayed for 45 minutes after our session wrapped up. Nobody left. They were asking us questions. People were thirsty for this stuff. So I was really, really pleasantly surprised that I think builders are starting to finally see that, like, hey, this is important and it matters, and they're willing to listen and learn. So that was definitely great takeaway for me, because I feel like I've been preaching about technology in home building space for many, many years now. And it's kind of been like, yeah, whatever, but our homes sell themselves. Like, what do we need this stuff for? And finally, they're starting to come to conclusion that, hey, yeah, not only can technology help us sell homes and position it better against used homes, but we can also maximize our profits by using technology. Like, yeah, it's going to cost us some money to invest in technology, but at the end of the day, if we're selling more and we're optimizing our homes with the more options, we're upselling, it's going to pay itself forward. And it was great to have two home builders on the panel with us, because they really offered a perspective of, what are going to be some challenges when you're going to try to implement this. These are going to be the pushback that your team is probably going to tell you. And this is what you're going to hear, and how to overcome it, and what they originally thought before they implemented technology versus how it worked out for them. So it was really great to get that first person perspective from the home builder's mouth, so to speak. So those were mine, but obviously you also had a sales rally, which you're a freaking rock star. So this was your second time presenting at a sales rally, right?
Fourth.
Fourth?
But
What?
fourth, yeah.
Oh
So,
my gosh.
a sales rally in 2020,
Mhm.
2021, which was virtual, 2022 for PCBC, and then 2023
IBS in person. Yeah, so that's what I
IBS
meant.
again. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's what I meant.
So
Twice in person at IBS.
yes, twice in person. Yeah. Okay. So good point. Keep me humble. But back to your point, I think this year I saw two things. I saw optimism and humility.
Mhm.
Optimism. So there's kind of like this, okay, we're still in the business, but there's a little bit of humility. And back to my first talk, I said, humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. And one of the humbling things in my business, when the sales started to change, it was like, they started letting people go. And so it matters that we do well, not just so we get a paycheck and we get a, plastic award or whatever. It's so that, we're prospering our communities. One of the points I talked about, and I learned this from my mentor, Tom Ritchie, is for every new home sold, 278 related goods and services are positively affected, from framers to carpenters to concrete to title companies to technology people, but all comes from when we do our job. And, we help people to own brand new homes. So one of my missions is to get people off of, and I think Ryan Taft has a really good quote. He goes, get off of your commission and get onto the customer's mission. And we also have to have our own mission, which is, my goal is to change the destiny of people's lives in a positive way. And so for the sales rally, by the yard, it's hard, but by the inch, it's a cinch. It's hard to sell a home. One of my philosophies is compete by the component.
Yes,
And so I don't say, new construction versus used home. I say a brand new home versus used. Because it's used what? It's a used carpet, it's used dishwasher. It's not a used home. No, it's a used AC unit. So anyway, if I can compete by the component, new always wins. But back to trying to sell a home, it's too big. It's too hard. I have this joke. It was great. I said, "How do you eat an elephant?" David Hagen, he's a good friend of mine, but he yelled out, "You eat it one bite at a time." And I humiliated him in front of her. I said, "Dave, who is this guy? Stand up." I said, this guy doesn't even want to kill the elephant. He wants to torture this beetle. He wants to eat it just one bite at a time. The point is that we try to take on too much. So we have a goal of selling a home. I don't do that. I have a goal. If somebody comes in, maybe I can make them smile. And if I can make them smile, I might make them laugh. And if I make them laugh, I might say, my name's Quint, what's your name? And usually if they laugh, they're going to say, my name is Bob. And if they tell me their name, I might be able to ask, where are you from? And they might say, I'm from New York. And I'll say, don't worry, we'll get you out of there. And, we get another smile. But the point is, then they follow me to the kitchen. If I get into the kitchen, I might be able to show them a couple of things that make us unique, set apart from and superior to the other builders in the area and used. So anyway, so that's the idea. It's that, like, don't try to sell homes. See if you can change the destiny of people's lives. Now, that sounds really hard, right? Well, you can smile at somebody and change their destiny. I didn't say change their life. That's hard. If I want to change your life right now, Anya, that's hard. But changing the destiny of your life, that's actually pretty easy, right? Because you can make you smile, and then you go home and you don't kick the cat doesn't scratch the dog doesn't bite the kid. Anyway, it's just ripple, kind of a butterfly effect.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, the sales rally is there's a lot of pressure because you're teaching the people, and in my mind, they're in the audience like, what are you going to teach me? You know what I mean? I'm from New York. I sold 100 million, whatever it is.
Right.
What are you going to teach me? One of my mentors, he tells me, what do you want them to teach them? What do you want them to learn? how do you want to make them feel? And what do you want to make them do? And, I want them to always leave with some kind of like, oh, I can do this right away. I can say this one little one-liner, like a zinger kind of thing, right?
Mhm.
Uh, how do I want to make them feel? I want them to feel like, man, I am lucky to be in this business, and I'm going to fight tooth and nail to stay in this business, and I'm going to invest in myself. And what do I want them to do? I want them to, to go home and start implementing the action, or get involved, or get into the center of the boat. So that's a very good kind of a platform to build off of. But great speakers. Jen Barkin, she spoke to the online sales counselor. Mary Marshall,
Of
Forrest.
course, she was my favorite. Sorry,
She was
Quinn.
amazing. No, I admit it.
She
By the way,
was
what
awesome.
people don't know about her, she is a phenomenal speaker coach. And I think that's almost her better role. I mean, she's a phenomenal speaker, great content. But if you get an opportunity, like to go to her and say, hey, I got a speech, and she'll sit there like this. She goes, I don't like that. That didn't work. And it's like, oh my gosh, but she's right. She's like this, like the velvet hammer is what I would call her. Because she's real smooth, but she's like, boom, no, that doesn't work. That's funny. I like that. Keep that. Work it this way. Say it this way. And I credit her with a lot of like my ideas. I would run her. Okay, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And she's very good. She has a very keen sense of like the reality of the situation, how it would come across. And she has a lot of expert tips. Here's a really good tip that she told me. Hold coffee or a tea, right? And the reason is when you're nervous, the body kind of pulls all the blood back to the vital organs, the brain, the heart, and all this stuff. So your hands get cold. So by holding a hot cup of coffee, it pulls the blood back to your hands, and it tricks the body to think, I'm not even nervous. And when you're not nervous, then you come across as like you're having fun. And if you have fun, then the audience has fun, and it kind of sets that charisma or the energy. So she has a lot of little tricks. So great person to connect with. FPG.com, obviously Jen Barkin with Do You Convert, great company. Their podcast was up for a big award at the Nationals.
Yes, congratulations, you guys. That's huge, because they've been doing this podcast for a long, long time. They've definitely been one of the OGs, and they stuck with it. And I know personally how difficult it is to produce content every single week after week and keep going. So great job, guys. Very well deserved. I do want to say that if you guys can watch the sales rally, I'm sure they're going to have replay of that. Again, sorry, Quint. Mary Marshall, of course, was my favorite one on that time. And really, I personally took away a lot of notes from what she suggested. So she would give us tips on how to say certain things so that it's received better by the other person. It was amazing just how you can turn simple things into completely reframe it. And it was just amazing. So she got us laughing. She got us thinking. She definitely got me taking notes. So I would say if you guys rewatch any sessions, sales rally is definitely the one to rewatch. But yes, let's move on. So PWB, my ladies, professional women in building, we had a big party at Omni nightclub. Whoop, whoop. So we got to shake our booties. Music was pumping, and it was just great to see all of the ladies come out and hang out. And I was surprised how many ladies there were, but I guess I shouldn't be surprised, because oftentimes I see PWB members on like the national level, but there's so many local chapters around the country. And so we all came together, celebrated each other, and just have a really, really good time. I mean, nothing better than shaking your booty with your girlfriend. So it was definitely very well put together. I want to say Incinerator is the sponsor, and they've been sponsoring for quite some time. So kudos to them. And I loved seeing all of my girlies on the dance floor. So that was that. And then, let's talk about nationals. I'm so bummed that I didn't get to go, but
so
you were
big
front and center.
Yeah. So the Nationals was a big year for me for a couple of reasons. I got to judge the Nationals for the first time, and that was a tremendous honor and a lot of work. Chris Hartley actually was one of the few judges that did every single category. And I can't even imagine, they actually broke it up into several. So I did, several important categories, but it wasn't all of them. And I remember calling him that week, asking him questions. He's like, dude, busy. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, dude, I got to get going. So I finally got down and I opened this package up, and it is so much work. And you realize the importance and the heart and you make a decision, who's the best and what's the real, what's the story behind the story. And so that was a very good opportunity. If you ever get a chance to do that, that's I think a very good, it opens you behind the scenes to kind of see what industry leaders are doing. The first lesson I want to just say is like, if you're a national silver award winner, you are an award winner. Kimberly Mackey was up for an award. I said, dude, why did you should have stopped by? Because I was doing the interviews as well. And she goes, wow, I didn't win. I'm like, but you did win. If you want a national silver
Silver,
award,
hell yeah.
yep. And she's got a great program that's just doing very well and has very well received.
Yeah, she's definitely been killing it with that. So yeah, and for those of you guys who don't know what Nationals is, it's the biggest award show for sales and marketing for new home sales professionals. It's the biggest stage there is. And Quint, of course, is always our correspondent on site, and you do such a phenomenal job just being so quick on your feet, thinking on your feet, doing interview after interview. Like, how many interviews did you do?
I think I did 29, which
That's
was
insane. So you guys,
yeah.
when somebody walks off the stage and they walk off with their Sam, which is here's mine, they go straight to Quint, and they're whisked outside and Quint interviews them. So oftentimes he has no information or very little information on who they are. And so you really have to think on your feet. So I give you huge kudos for that. So tell us about some of your most memorable interviews. I heard you got into an argument with the Woman of the Year. Is that true?
Well, yeah. Oh, that was a really good one, by the way. So Nora Spencer, she actually got Woman of the Year.
Shout out to her.
Whoop, whoop. And so I said, this is meaningful to me because, I have a 7-year-old daughter, and I actually want to, and I was in my mind, I'm like, I want to get her involved in doing something. And she's like, you should. And she goes, but don't get her a pink hammer. Don't get her a pink saw. And then I was like, oh, that's literally in my head. I'm like, but I want to, and that's her favorite color. And then she kind of paused and she's like, okay, you can get her a pink saw. I think she made a special exception. So we didn't really get into an actual fight, but it was a kind of a cool back and forth because in my mind, I'm like, I want to get her like a little pink hammer and a pink, and I know that she would love that, but her idea is like, don't treat them different.
Nora, she started this organization where they train women for trade. So basically it's preparing you to enter the trades, sets you up with local builders in the area. So she's doing a tremendous job to help this industry, because obviously we all know that women are just a huge minority in home building when it comes to trades, plus, the shortage of labor. So kudos, definitely well deserved.
So another new award was Global Innovation Award. And it was actually a 3D printed house by Black Buffalo. So there were some fascinating things that are changing in our industry. Elena Mora was the OSC of the year. That was a fun interview because that was one of the categories that I judged. So I'm reading through this thing and it's like, answers the phone, within 30 seconds and I'm like, is that for real? Well, let's find out. So like, I actually called the company, like pretending I'm a customer. And next thing I'm on the phone with Elena and she's like, yeah, so what size home are you looking for? And I'm now I'm like caught off guard because they actually answered within the minute or whatever. And
did you tell her that in the interview?
Well, yeah, I did. I was like, but she actually kept asking all these discovery questions. And finally, I'm like, look, I just got to be honest with you. I'm judging the Nationals, and I wanted to see if this stuff is for real, you know what I mean? And it was just funny. And then when I was talking to Chris Hartley and Lisa Parrish, we're talking through, I'm like, well, actually calling, and Chris is like, of course you did, but it was funny. But anyway, that was a fun interview.
Oh yeah, and shout out to Lisa Parrish and Team PMP.
Yeah, great job, fantastic. Fabulous. And they actually had a really good film crew for me this year. Where normally I'm running around, so they had a team with the actual stuff, so that we had the actual official backdrop, and it was great. Taylor Humphrey, that was a big one. That was a great interview. Sales Manager of the Year. That was a very tough category. A lot of people don't realize how competitive some of these categories. I've got the actual stack of award winners. See, hold on.
Yeah, Taylor. Yeah, he does so much. So he's definitely involved with every training you'll go. Like, I know every time I go to Jeff Shore's events, he's there. So he's definitely taking it all in. He's learning, constantly learning. So he's very well deserved. Congratulations.
Yeah, and it's hundreds of pages of of stuff that you have to read and this, and then go
Wait,
back and
this
which
is
one
the
was that?
pile? This is the
Yeah,
pile that you
this is
got?
actually the I don't want to
Oh
because it's
my
got
God.
names and stuff like that. Yeah, that's just a, you
Crazy.
know, so it's a big deal and it's a lot of work, but it was very, very good. He had a very strong application and he had a very strong endorsement letter by Ryan Taft, I believe. We're still like recovering from the show. We have so many different names
Oh
and stuff
yeah,
like that.
I came back. I literally felt like I needed to be in like locked up in the padded white room for
I
like
know.
2 days. It's so much. But you know, if you guys are a speaker, I got to hang out a little bit in the speakers lounge. So that's where I got to see a lot of my people. You know, everybody you could possibly imagine. I think they, you know, come through the speakers lounge. So always a good spot to hang out,
Oh,
get ready, and get some food too.
I learned this early in my career from a gentleman named David Melcher. I think that was his name. He was a sales trainer with Highland Bay. And he says, you go to events like this to meet people that go to events like this. And I thought that was a really good quote that, you go there to meet people and to get connected. And try to get people's cell phone numbers. Hey, can I call you up after the show? And I found that most people are very generous with their times, and the people that aren't, or if they're make it really weird, you don't want to connect with them anyway, so
Yeah. It's like people who don't want to connect on LinkedIn. It's like, dude, if you only want to connect to people you know, what's the whole point of networking, right? So yeah, this year I definitely changed my typical approach to IBS. And I think that's why I say I missed 70% of my people that I
yeah.
typically see. I didn't see a lot of them because normally I would go hang out at Sales Central, and that's where you'd see a lot of people hanging out, which Sales Central is definitely the hub for sales and marketing people. But this year I was like, hey, no, I don't want to go to the same place. I want to go where I haven't gone before and meet new people. So I was hanging out more at like 55 plus Central, Custom Central, and really was kind of trying to, there's a quote about the fox never taking the same path twice. And so I was following that same principle for networking. And, if you see me network ever, even when I travel with my team, you'll see that I'll never sit with my team for lunch, for example. And I'm like, don't take offense to it, people. I love you, but I'm here to network. I'm not here to eat lunch with you guys. Same thing with like, just even if you're in the same group of people and you're eating lunch, like I'll never sit at the same table with the same people again. And if I see people that I know at the table, I typically tend to go to a table where I don't know anybody. So, it's definitely awkward, but it's the whole point of this is to meet new people. And so the best way to meet new people is to put yourself in the situations where you can meet new people instead of talking to somebody that you've already met. Not that that's not important. So for sure, it's important to nurture your existing relationships, but it's very important to put yourself out there. So I'd say that's my piece of advice when it comes to networking, is to just try something different, make it uncomfortable, because at the end of the day, it'll pay off. So
also, I would tell, one of my things I don't like about some of these shows are the after parties, because I go there to meet interesting, like successful people, and I want to actually talk to them. And it's like, what, sorry, would you say something? And as a speaker, I used to do it. We used to scream and shout all night. But now that I have, big events like the Nationals, I have to interview 30 people. I've got the next day I have the sales rally. I've got this other space. I can't shout all night. So like I was trying to seek like quiet corners or like restaurants. Like, could I get in the back? Could I get away so that I can actually talk and visit with another human being and make a deeper connection? I see you, Anya, as being a really masterful connector. And in the book, Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell, he talks about certain people that are connectors, and most of us are very disconnected. And that's why if you can become a connector, you kind of create your own world, and because you're the one connecting these people with these people. And so that's a very powerful gift that you have. And I think that's why you've been successful and why you were sought after by Inugo and the companies that, want to expand their brand. It's a powerful gift that I think you're good at. And I think it also comes from being multicultural, and like you said being dropped off in Germany and then from Russia and then here, that you're not afraid to go anywhere, and it's like, yeah, I'll figure it out. Where a lot of people do have those natural barriers, and it allows you to be very successful. So
well, thank you. I will take that. I think the same about you. I think you're a great connector. I think you do always think about like, oh, it's not just like about me, but what can I do for these two people? I want to introduce you. And I mean, you've opened so many doors for me, and you've always been selfless. Yes, not selfish.
Yeah. In the beginning, when I'm doing the joke about like, I will not make this about newhomesales.com. I actually do that to be
So you guys make sure you go check out newhomesales.com and see all the things that Quint is doing, because he is a great trainer. And if you want to learn, then you got to reach out to Quint, because 100% he's practitioner. He's been doing it for a long time, and he's not sick of it. And he has that passion. So if you guys want to learn from the best of the best, right here, newhomesales.com. So
hey, I was trying to make a joke though. I do think that humor is so important. One of the things with the sales rally talk, I think if we can make people laugh, it's so important to smile and to, because there's so many things to feel heavy about, right?
Yeah.
And so I think we take ourselves too serious. Sometimes as it's like, oh no, I'm up here, and it's like, dude, I don't care. By the way, if you're at the Nationals, just grab, can I borrow your award, and then show up and I'll interview you. And then halfway through, I'll say, what did you win? And so I didn't win anything. I just wanted to be interviewed.
I like
great.
that. Next year, I'm gonna. Yeah.
Chris Hartley actually did that. He showed up, holding up a gold award. I'm like, dude, let's interview. So it was fun. But we're not in an industry. One of my main talks, I talked about the fundamentals. Fun. We've lost the fun. And if we ever start feeling like this isn't fun, I know the minute you stop like, I got to go to another YP or whatever, you got to find something else, because you're not going to be good at it.
Yeah.
And you can't fake happiness, I don't think.
100%. And that's why it's so important for me is the pursuit of happiness. Like whatever I work for, whatever company, whatever I do, I'm like, I don't care about anything else. I care about being happy, what I do, and being passionate about. Okay,
quick training right now. Do you know where the word happiness comes from?
Happiness. No, I don't.
Okay, the root word is HAP, hap. And it's the same root word for hapless. It actually means luck, or what happens to you, right? So what you actually want is joy. And that's kind of the internal thing. If you can find what gives you joy, what sparks joy. Maria Congo, or with the sparks joy, the art of tidying up or whatever. And that was a huge movement. But the joy is that inner kind of thing, because outside, like, oh, interest rates are up, well, I'm down. Oh, I had a cancellation. Well, so if you can have the joy, then you're unstoppable. And it's something that other people cannot get to and throw you off.
Yeah, 100%. Positivity, your wall of positivity keeps shining through. So, all right. So as we wrap this up, is there anything else that we didn't talk about, Quint, that you think is worth mentioning, or any piece of advice that you want to give to our listeners who've maybe never been to IBS before and they're thinking, is it worth going to?
Okay, yeah, don't do an IBS joke. It's just dumb, because everybody's already heard it 1,000. Oh, you're going to IBS, like, so that's tip number one. Pay for a room that's closer. I was spending like $100 on Uber, and it's like, wait a second, I could have gotten a hotel closer to it, but like, oh, I'm trying to save money. And actually I wasn't trying to save money. It's just everything booked up.
Well, that's the thing. You got to book early. Like,
book early.
We know we're going to go to the next one, right? Like, so as soon as the hotel block opens, I go and I book right away. So
protect yourself. Don't wear high heels or anything uncomfortable.
Yeah, don't do anything crazy at night,
because you'll physically hurt yourself.
Yes. But during the day, forget about high heels, unless like I have a pair that I wore that are like, not really, they're like a chunkier heel, and I can run in them all day long. Like, so make sure you're comfortable.
But it's physically like a marathon. I mean, it's physically painful.
Exhausting. Yes.
And so people
take vitamins, lots of vitamins too.
Tons of vitamins.
Because you get sick. I'm actually surprised I didn't get sick after. I was fully expecting to be like, okay, COVID got me, but no, I was fine. But maybe that's because I was literally taking so many vitamins. So I don't know.
Anyway, you're doing great. Congratulations on Anugo and their success. Everything. It's really cool to see that the trajectory and I think that your innovative change mechanism for the industry and really pushing the industry forward. I love the podcast has been really strong. We'll keep up. We'll have to do another more specific.
Yes, definitely. So Quint actually is working on a book all about speaker
tips. No, every book I've ever read, it's like 400 pages. It's like, find your why. I'm like, no, I just need like tips. I already have a why. I already have my ideas. I need like the little tips, like Mary Marshall, she, talk about the holding of warm, coffee. Like that's a tip that I can just put in a book. So I've already got, I want to say about 120 like expert tips that are just really small things. Like
I'm going to contribute some for you. One of my girls is going to be wear high heels, wear an outfit that makes you feel powerful, because you want to stand strong, you want to look confident, you want to feel confident. So I always make sure that I wear a pair of heels on stage, because it definitely changes something within me.
Yeah, I think there's a tendency now to kind of dress down in our industry. Like, okay, like I'm like the Apple CEO or something like that. But I feel like that's an old fashioned kind of thing. Like, or like, you don't want to outdress the CEO. But if somebody's dressed up, nobody thinks they're the CEO. They think that they're the salesperson. So anyway, I kind of dress, I overdress, even for the interview this morning. It's just kind of a respect thing. It's not a power thing. It's just kind of like, oh, that's different, because nobody else wears a tie anymore. You know what I mean?
Yes, I like that. I appreciate it. So
yeah.
sure.
So yeah, I think but it's different for each person. Maybe for somebody else, it is. I'm not telling you to wear a tie, because if it's not natural to you, you're gonna look really strange or weird. If somebody's not used to high 100%. Heels, back to your point, at the sales rally, the stage is actually like a Tempur-Pedic mattress. It's really soft. So Mary was saying, like, do not wear heels, because it's specific. You have to go the day before and say, where am I actually speaking? And I try to get physically comfortable with the stage. So like if you had worn heels there, you would have been off kilter the whole time. Specifically in the 2020 sales rally, it was weird. You would walk around and they were trying to make it feel like luxurious or something, but it felt really cushy, like strange.
Well, yeah. So obviously, dress for success, dress for whatever makes you feel comfortable. Because if you're uncomfortable, it's going to show, and there's nothing worse than that. So
the magic's in the mix. Hey, really appreciate it.
Yes, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for being here. Again, I would love to have you back on when your book is ready, and I would love to discuss that. So when are we expecting the release of the book? Tell us.
Let's do it this year. Speakertips.com will be the URL. I like URLs. I like if I have a space.
How many?
And I want to make.
You got how many URLs?
I got a bunch.
Yeah. So you guys, we'll have Quint back. And then I would love to hear about what was your favorite part of the show. And we'll definitely be back next year. Quint, I'm going to be on top of you for booking that hotel early, because I know I called you how many times to say book.
I got to do it. Yeah, it's bad. I got punished. So.
All right, you guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much for being here with us, and talk to you soon. Bye.
Take care. Bye, everybody.